Hey guys, welcome on in. It's Tobin here with you. If you guys could subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Hit the like button, hit the comments, and if you like this channel, I'd imagine you like the radio show as well. Tobin and Leroy live weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We talk all things Miami sports and silly sauce. You guys could check us out. It's 4 hours of content a day. 2.5 when you really take out the commercials and all that. But we're live every single day, 10 a.m., and we go till 2 p.m., and we have a lot of fun. So if you guys want to check that out, I usually link it in the description of every YouTube video. Check us on out there at the 560 WQAM YouTube page. Subscribe to us over there. And you guys get all the other 560 shows there as well. But there's a Tobin and Leroy playlist specifically if you just want our ugly mugs there. So Miami Heat are getting set for Game 2 of the first round against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I thought today, really great quote from Tyler Herro. I was impressed. And it was a couple of parts, and I want to get into both parts of it. I'm going to get to the second part of it first, and then I'm going to get to the first part of it second. So if you guys can keep up, try and do so. So here was the quote from Tyler Herro. I'm getting this from Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald. And Tyler Herro basically thinks that the Miami Heat got pushed around a little bit in Game 1. Here was his quote. He says, "Spo's adjustments always, since I've been playing for him, are amazing after Game 1. But I mostly think it's on us, the players, to bring a more physical approach, a better approach to the game. We got punked in the first game, and we can't do that on Wednesday." And I got to say, props to Tyler Herro. Let's not hide from it. I think Davion Mitchell alluded to this when he was talking about being the harder playing team. And so there's not much that can change in the theme, but I do think, what is the old saying? The first way to address a problem is to admit that you have one. And the Miami Heat, they did have a problem specifically on that perimeter with how much they got beat up by the guards and how much they got after loose balls and how much they brought the hustle more on Miami and the second chance points. Like, it doesn't look uber lopsided, but it just felt like for Miami, here's the thing. When you're the team that has less firepower, every single time you give a team like Cleveland another chance, you're going to feel it more. They're not. Because when you get the second chance points, that's probably how Miami's going to have to generate offense to keep up with one of the best offenses in the league. That's going to be their superpower in all this. And if Miami goes about this and they're playing them to a push in second chance points, or they're getting beat in second chance points, well, that's just a recipe for disaster. So good on Tyler Herro for recognizing it, and a lot of it is going to fall on him. He, quite frankly, last year had a very good Game 2 after a Game 1 where he stunk up the joint. Boston brought it to Tyler Herro, a defense. Now, not a defense. He's not going to be facing a defense like that on the perimeter because they have all-world guard defenders in Derek White and Drew Holiday. This is not that. That I think Tyler Herro is going to have more opportunities here. I think he's going to have those chances. He mentioned also today that the way they were attacking him took a toll a little bit on his efficiency in offense. So that's going to be an interesting thing on how Miami can protect Tyler a little bit to keep him fresher throughout the game. But I also think that there's just an element of like, hey, this is what it is. And I think there's certainly going to be some conversation I don't want to bring for this video, but about his extension, his long-term future, what he's going to be going for, what those negotiations are going to be looking like. I would say because of his long-term future and what he wants and what his year was in the regular season, every Heat fan, right or wrong right now, the number one guy who has the most scrutiny on him is Boy Wonder. That's just the facts about it. And whether it's fair or it's unfair, we have gone through this whole last 5 years. And Jimmy Butler needing that second scorer. And Bam Adebayo being there along for the ride with Jimmy Butler and providing all of the defense and rebounding, all that's it. We know that Bam Adebayo can physically play in a playoff series and hold up pretty well. It's on Tyler Herro to show his success with that, which we haven't necessarily seen since the bubble. And I think one of the reasons for that late last year was, well, listen, they got smoked in the first round. We didn't really get to see it, and the Heat were a little bit overwhelmed and overmatched. The years before that, it was injury. It was a broken wrist. It was a lower body injury. So there were things that took a toll on him in those deep runs that he never really got to prove. And speaking with him on some of those matchups, yeah, he thought some of those would play into his favor, but we don't know. That's the mystery out there. That's the thing that is just kind of lingering out there for the Miami Heat and for Tyler Herro to answer. And so one of the things is important about the Miami Heat being in a playoff series, while it's not ideal to go in there and take on the 8 seed all the time, and the Miami Heat are always putting it up against themselves to take on the hardest strength of schedule, you do get answers right away for, all right, what can this guy do when it comes to the best of the best in the East? It's not like you're getting this false sense because Tyler Herro went and beat a Bucks team with a Damian Lillard who was hampered, or beat an unproven Pistons team. While you would approve that because you're going to go further, you're going to get the answers and where the Miami Heat are with all of this right off the bat. And that's why when they lost last year to Boston, the infamous question, how to find Riley, and Jimmy's first comment on all that was, remember, he was talking to Chris Haynes, and he says that we're going to go up 2-1 right here, and of course they didn't. And then we had the F1 comments, but it was interesting because you got to know right away why Jimmy's series was so special a couple of years ago against the Bucks is they were the 1 seed. If you could beat them, you could beat anybody. So I say all that just to know, Tyler's test here is going to be interesting because you're going to get to know right up against, hey, this was the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. What can he do against them? And that's it's a big test, but it's exciting for him. Now, to get to the first part of his quote, which was also interesting, he says, Spo's adjustments, always since I've been playing for him, are amazing after game 1. And I was trying to think about this because the first thing that came to mind especially was last year, and Tyler Herro being there last year and being the focal point of that team. And that team, he went from in game 1 being 4 of 13 to a game 2 where he had 24 points and 14 assists. Miami hit a franchise record, playoff record, 23 3-pointers in that game against Boston. And I was just curious overall because, Erik Spoelstra is known as a big-time adjuster. So I browsed through his playoff resume, Erik Spoelstra, and wanted to know what was his record after losing game 1. And it's quite good. Erik Spoelstra's record, this isn't pure game 2s. This is game 2s after losing game 1. We know that he won last year. He's actually won his last 2 that he's been in this position. He won last year, and he won game 2 against the Denver Nuggets. Now, both of those resulted in gentlemen's sweep, top hats and monocles, but nonetheless, in that position, Erik Spoelstra 2-0 in his last 2, where he's been in the position of being down 0-1. Erik Spoelstra's actually only gone down 0-2 by my count. If I'm wrong, you guys can hit me up and blast me in the comments and hit me up. That's fine. But by my count, Erik Spoelstra has only been down 0-2 in a series 3 times in his career. Those 3 were the sweep in 2021 to the Milwaukee Bucks, the loss to the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2020 finals, and they, of course, got gentlemen sweeps in Spo's second head coaching series in the playoffs, which was, of course, Dwayne Wade, scoring champ, Boston Celtics 2010. Dwayne Wade says they're going to be my last first-round exit for a long time. I can tell you that. They end up getting the big 3. You guys know the deal. But all time, those are the only times Erik Spoelstra, by my count, if I'm missing one, I apologize, but by my count, and I think I got it, those are the only times that Erik Spoelstra has been down 0-2 in his career, those 3. 13 times he has faced 0-1 deficits in a playoff series, and he has gone 10-3 in those scenarios. 10-3 all-time in Game 2s when down 0-1 in the series. So, for the most part, he has had, like Tyler Herro said, a lot of success in that Game 2 scenario. Now, overall for the series, in those 10 wins, even Steven, 5-5 for actually winning the series or losing the series. So it doesn't necessarily premonitate that he is going to go on and win the series, But there have been times where, if you look at some infamous ones, where he has been down 0-1. I referenced this the other day, the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals. That was actually the next time Erik Spoelstra in his career was down 0-1 in a series, and the Miami Heat ends up going top hats and monocles on the Chicago Bulls. They end up winning that series, and then they would end up the next year, they would go down 0-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder, losing that game, and that would win Game 2 on the road. So that was a pretty big one in his career, where they ended up down 0-1 and they would come back. They in 2012-2013 season, they took on Milwaukee. Gentlemen swept them that year. They lost Game 1 and then won Game 2. And that was, I believe, Jimmy Butler. I think that was Jimmy Butler's rookie year. Nate Robinson, I think, went crazy in Game 1. Not one that was too daunting that season, but there was, of course, a very daunting one in the finals when they lost Game 1 to the San Antonio Spurs, even though I thought Tony Parker traveled. And they end up winning Game 2 of that series. They end up winning the series in 7. And they would be in that same place in the Eastern Conference Finals the next year. They lost Game 1 to the Indiana Pacers. They'd win the next one. At that point, Erik Spoelstra in his career was 6-1 all time in Game 1s. In Game 2s after losing Game 1, they would do it in the net, and they would win that series in 6. And then the next series would be against the San Antonio Spurs. They lost Game 1. That, of course, was Crampgate, where LeBron James cramped up. AC was broken in San Antonio, locker room shenanigans, all that. They end up winning Game 2, and they come back and they get absolutely bludgeoned once they get back to Miami. So, again, it doesn't necessarily have the premonition of, are they going to win the series, are they going to lose the series? But it does. It is a thing. It is a thing. As Tyler Herro pointed out, is Erik Spoelstra good in Game 2s? He is, and especially after a Game 1 loss, Erik Spoelstra typically makes the adjustments to get the series even up. He does not face an 0-2 deficit very much in his career. So I would say whatever Erik Spoelstra has up his sleeve, I think the Heat having a more physical attitude, I don't think they're going to be very intimidated by the atmosphere. This is a Heat core that has a lot of veterans on it. You have Tyler, Bam, Duncan, ton of playoff experience. Wiggins, obviously, finals champion. I guess Davion Mitchell is facing it. He doesn't seem like a guy who's too shook by the moment. Burks is a veteran. The only guys that you really have questions about are Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jovic, and Pelle Larsson. But Nico, he's been with the team on deep runs before, and was also he played last year in that Boston series, so there's experience there. So really, I'd say you look to the rookies as the guy who just don't have the experience to handle something like this. But the big thing for Miami is they cannot be in a position where they allow themselves to get pushed around again. But they have, I think, the right mindset going into this thing, and they have a coach who is very good in this scenario. Very, very good when it comes to losing that first game. He typically finds a way to get it done and go about making a series much more competitive. He's only been swept once in his career. So going to be a very, very interesting Game 2. Cannot wait for it, and excited to see what the Miami Heat have for the Cleveland Cavaliers come Wednesday night.